I love the Monami Plus Pen 3000. They're in my top favorite pens. You may have seen my recent video, 5 surprising pens I use as brush pens, where I talked about how even though these are fine liners, you can use them as tiny brush pens for tiny, dainty lettering. I love these pens so much, so I decided to try some other Monami pens because I realized I haven't used any other Monami pen. That's crazy. I also showed you the Live Color pens that are in this Monami Pen Haul because they look like the Plus Pen, but they're slightly different. So don't worry, I'm finally going to show you if they work the same or not. By the way, if you're new here, I'm Sarah from Ensign Insights. Let's look at these 3 different sets of Monami pens that I got so you can see if they might be something that would work for you. First, I got these Monami Fabric Markers that say they're a brush tip. Have you seen these? I liked the vibrant colors. I have used fabric markers in other brands that are actually great, like the Sharpie stained fabric markers. These are not like those though. So the brush tip is really firm and they're not as juicy. The colors are really pretty though. This is a nice solid set of rainbow colors. I wanted to try them on fabric and I even got a plain shirt in the craft section of Walmart to try, but I didn't want to rush it for this video because I want to do a design that will make a really cute shirt that I actually want to wear. But as soon as I do that, I will definitely show you. The brush tips on these are very firm and not that bouncy. It made me think of Artline sticks, so I wanted to compare them, and they are actually really similar. Have you tried Artline sticks? They are washable, so they couldn't be used as fabric markers. I would say this brush tip isn't for everyone. It doesn't allow for a really thin upstroke, which is fine unless you don't like that kind of style. Artline sticks were my first brush pens and I loved them so much. I still like them when I'm going for that style, but I don't use them as much anymore because I found other brush pens that I like better. I'm guessing that's how I'm going to feel about these Monami fabric markers, so the reason to keep them would be if they're great for fabric, which I will be trying soon. The next pen I tried is the Monami Color Twin brush. These weren't cheap, so I just got this one set with 6 pastel colors that seemed like they would be the colors that I would use the most. I also liked that it has a large brush tip and a small brush tip. It's nice to have that option. But these are interesting because they have a rubber tip instead of a felt tip like most brush pens. This means it won't fray, but it's a little different to letter with because the rubber doesn't form to the paper as easily as a felt tip. So I kind of felt like it didn't have as much control. They kind of reminded me of the Winsor & Newton brush markers because they have this rubber nib. I had bought those by accident, so I returned them. This was several years ago because I was trying to get the Winsor & Newton watercolor markers, which are the actual felt tip, and they're so nice. I have a video, I compared those in case you tried the brush markers and realized you couldn't letter with them. Maybe my video will help you out. I will leave that linked below if you're curious. I really like these colors, so I want to try using them more to see if the rubber tip will bother me or not. I would want to start using them on watercolor paper since they won't fray, but if I can't get good lettering with them, then that doesn't really help, so we'll just have to see. They would be really great for coloring if that's your thing. I tried blending with them on Bristol smooth paper and they blended really well just using the markers on top of each other. These don't totally draw me in like other new pens that I've gotten in the past, but if I do start using them a lot, like on watercolor paper, I will let you know. Okay, I was really excited to share these last pens with you. The Monami Live Color pens. When I bought them, I saw the tip looked like it might be similar to the Plus Pen 3000, but it's slightly more rounded, so I didn't know what to expect. They have a bullet tip that's thicker, and I really like this size of bullet tip, so I have several pens in this bullet tip size. As I swatched these colors, I noticed that the colors look pretty similar to the Monami Plus Pen 3000, and both sets I have are 36 colors. So I compared them a little bit closer, and it looks like they are pretty similar colors with a few here and there that are different, but I really like all of the colors. They're really vibrant, and I always feel like I have what colors that I need for what I want to use. As for how flexible the fine tip is, I compared them side by side, and you can see how the Plus Pen 3000 is a bit more flexible. I was really excited to see the Live Color pens actually can get a little bit thicker when given more pressure, but just a little though. So I don't think these will replace my Plus Pen 3000, but I will probably keep these, especially since I like the bullet tip too. These reminded me of the Tombow Twin Tone pens. Have you tried those? I'll show you a comparison in a minute, but first I wanted to see how well the Live Color would do for tracing worksheets. So I pulled out my book, Handlettering for Beginners, and of course, I knew they would be good for faux calligraphy worksheets because they are fine liners. I like to use tracing paper in my book so I can reuse my book over and over. I've heard from a few people who have found my book in their local library. So if you check it out from the library, all you need is tracing paper and you have your practice before returning the book. By the way, if you don't find it at your library, you can request it and they might get it for you. That's what my brother-in-law did. And if you don't want to have to return it, you can purchase it to own. It's definitely a helpful lettering resource to have on hand. I have linked that in the description below. Okay, so for the brush pen worksheets, these Live Color pens do work, but the downstroke is pretty thin. I also noticed that it felt like some of the colors were less flexible, so I guess you can't count on them to be the best tiny brush pen like the Plus Pen 3000. I had my hopes up pretty high for these, and I mean, I do love them and I'm happy to have them in my collection, but they're not the one perfect pen like I was hoping they would be. All right, let me show you how these Live Color pens compare to the Tombow Twin Tone. They both have the bullet tip and the fine tip. The Live Color pens are more rounded. The bullet tip looks like they're the same size. As for the fine tip, I tried giving the Monami a little pressure on the downstrokes. When I tried that with the Tombow Twin Tone, it didn't have any flexibility at all. It's also really, really tiny. It has almost like a sharp fine tip. It's really interesting. To be honest, I haven't seen any other fine tips that look like this. Have you? One reason why I love reviewing pens so much is because I love helping you find what pens make you feel good about your unique lettering style. Because we're all different. We all need different pens. I have a whole playlist of pen reviews to get you started with that. So I will put that right here and I'll see you there. I hope you'll subscribe so that we can do this together. I know it's not easy to learn lettering and then feel so good about it right from the start. So I'm so glad you're here.